It is official. Big news coming out of Clemson, South Carolina. Dabo Swinney fires Garrett Riley and Mickey Conn. I'm going to dive into that in just a second. Why the delay, what this means, who we could potentially hire. Will us waiting actually cost us and who we could potentially hire? I'm going to dive into that in just a second. Welcome to the channel. If you love Clemson football, even when things are, well, like they are right now, I hope you'll subscribe and pass this along to all your friends, all your buddies. Remember, subscribing is free. I made a call yesterday. I'm going to say this. I went live last night and I said, I am 10 subscribers from 9,000 subscribers. And y'all got me surpassed it. Definitely. So if you want to subscribe and you haven't, please do. I'm tracking towards 10,000 subscribers, and I really do appreciate that. And I want to give a special shout out to the sponsor of the show. In fact, I'm wearing the polo. This polo feels great, looks good. I'm wearing the hat. It looks awesome. This is all from Section 103, the sponsor of my show. Check out the link below this video, section103.com, and use the one-time use promo code Tigers10 for 10% off of your order. So you see the polo here, you see the hat. Let's take a look at some more of the designs they have here. Everything from these comfortable polos to t-shirts. And all of these designs are based on Clemson traditions like Howard's Rock, Two Right Turns, Clemson House. I love the Clemson Blue Cheese label shirt, and I believe they have a sticker that is Clemson Blue Cheese. You need to go check that out. Thank you to Section 103 for trusting your Clemson lunch to my channel. Everybody go over there and check them out and buy something. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. So let's dive in. A lot of people felt like this was coming. And right after the South Carolina Clemson game, there was a report that came out. I believe it was Clemson Insider who said that Garrett Riley and Mickey Conn were going to be fired. Then nothing happened. Then we had other people saying, well, hold on. Nothing's official. We hear changes are coming, but we're not going to say anything. And Garrett Riley's name was consistently brought up. And then people just kind of felt like that it was probably Riley and no one else. It got to 12 o'clock today. And I looked, it was about wrist 30. And I was like, there's no announcement yet. And then later on tonight, of course, like you, I found out that Mickey Conn and Garrett Riley is no longer with the team. And here's the thing about this. I want to say this real quick before I dive into both of them and their careers at Clemson. These are human beings. I know when we get into sports and so on, we start acting stupid and saying a bunch of dumb stuff. Two guys did lose their job today. All right. And I talk about how much money they make because it is important. With that said, someone did lose their job today. We need to be a little more civilized. You can be happy that hopefully there'll be proper changes coming to Clemson and that hopefully that will yield a better result. Also know that both of these guys, they've been in the college game for a while now. They should land on their feet and they should be all right. But let's just try to keep it civil a little bit. So now let's dive into let's start with Mickey Conn. Actually, Mickey Conn and Dabo Swinney go way back. I want to say back to Alabama when they played together there. And so this firing to me is more shocking than Garrett Riley. Why? Because of that. That's why. I think that this is probably the most shocking fire between the two guys. And we saw some things that happened during the season with the safeties and just the busted coverage left and right. There was seemingly an irritation on the sideline between Mickey Conn, and it looked like between Mickey Conn and Tom Allen. Let's pause there. Cameras can see something that's actually not going on. Maybe Conn was just losing his mind of like, why? Why did they do that? And it looked like he was arguing with Tom Allen. So let's step back from that, okay? Maybe that wasn't happening. I don't know. Here's what I do know. our safety play, our coverage, our busted. I've never seen so many busted coverages for a supposed good football team, which Clemson's not an elite football team anymore. Sorry to break that to you. If you are elite, you would not be 7-6. And last year you wouldn't have lost 4 games. And when you did go to the playoff, you lost by 2 touchdowns, and everybody celebrated like we were coming home from World War II with a victory, and you lost by 2 touchdowns. That's not elite thinking, and that's not elite performance. But this year, the safety play was so poor. But I was sitting there going, I just don't see him firing Mickey Conn. And he did. He did fire Mickey Conn. And so Mickey Conn joined the staff out of Grayson High School, one of the most dominant Atlanta area football teams. He won a lot of games out there. Mickey Conn has done some really good things. I don't know about the Clemson. I don't know. I don't know. With that said, I'm shocked that they let him go. I'm shocked that Dabo let him go. I'm very shocked, but we need improvement. We need improvement on every square inch of this football team. And I'm going to get to that as well. Let's talk about Garrett Riley. Let's talk about Garrett Riley's predecessor, Brandon Streeter. Brandon Streeter played at Clemson in the late 90s. He had some other jobs outside of Clemson, then came back to Clemson as the quarterback coach for Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. He took over one season. They went 10-3. He took over as the offensive coordinator for one season, and Dabo fired him after one season. You're like, what does that have to do with Garrett Riley? Garrett Riley has been at Clemson for 3 years, and the offense has got worse. Pause there. If you're new to the channel, I do the pause there thing. Welcome. How much of a say did Coach Swinney have over the offense? Really? And here's the reason I say this. If Coach Swinney was influencing the play calling for either one of these coordinators, if you fire them and you bring someone else in, and we see the same types of play calling going on, we're either hiring the same type of guy or Coach Swinney is telling them what types of plays to call. And so I want to be very careful. I've said this in the past. We may in fact have to apologize to Garrett Riley in the future, if that is the case. If that is the case. But Garrett Riley's very first game was in 2023 on a Monday night in Durham, North Carolina against Duke, and Duke dog-walked us. Now, granted, Mike Elko was the coach. Riley Leonard. I always get his name backwards, and I like the guy. Riley Leonard was playing quarterback for Duke. The guy is just a beast. But that offense only scored 7 points that night while Duke scored 28. And who knew that this was going to be the new norm? Also, before I forget this, notice how after the bowl game against Penn State, the loss to Penn State, the team, I think, who had more people out than we did, with a coaching staff that, was just an interim coaching staff. Some of them won't be back. Some of them will. With this new coaching staff, they beat Clemson. Notice how Dabo afterwards didn't talk too much about the offense. He hammered the defense. And I'm sitting there going, why? The offense is the one that I think it was already settled in Coach Sweeney's mind. I'm not going to talk about the offense because I know the move I'm making. And it's settled. I'm going to talk about who will be back. I will talk about the defense. I will talk about the strategy. And I'll rip it apart because, well, the offense will be taken care of. That's what I get out of him not hammering down on that. Maybe you get that, maybe you don't. I don't know. But some tendencies that we saw out of Garrett Riley, again, maybe it was influence. And again, Coach Riley, we may have to apologize to you. We may be watching a 30 for 30 one day, and Garrett Riley sitting there going, hey, listen, every time I tried to call this or I tried to call that, I was told, hey, we're sticking to this type of, if that is the case, and listen, don't shake your head and go, that's absurd. Crap like that happens all the time in businesses, on teams, in government. It happens, okay? But what we saw is when Garrett Riley encountered most of the time a really good football team, the playbook shut up. It just went ultra conservative. And it would open up against, well, it was like everyone wetting their drawers last year, peeing all over themselves. After Georgia beats the crap out of us 31-3 in the opener. I mean, you have all off season long to prepare for that very first game in 2024. There's no other team that you have to worry about but them. And you get beat 31-3. And then the very next week, Appalachian State, the worst Appalachian State team that they fielded in years, so bad they fired their alumni coach. Clemson has like 700 yards and everybody just forgets. They're like, oh, that's fine with us. Yeah, we lose to Georgia. We don't care. We say we care about winning. We'll want to fight you if you tell us we're not elite. But our mindset is we're not elite anymore. Oh, we lose to Georgia. Who cares? Or Georgia. But we're good. You're supposed to take us serious. That happened so much. Last year, the offense struggled. The offense struggled a lot this year. In fact, it was worse, and you had more weapons. They had more weapons. Wesco and more weapons. A hit and miss healthy Antonio Williams. You have, I believe, one of the best tight ends in America, in Christian Bettenker. I believe it. Clemson's just not using him. And so we saw the offense just become unbelievably conservative. But what was different about this year, this was crazy, was this year we saw the offense not be able to move the ball on mediocre football teams. Now, I know that Syracuse, their quarterback, Steve Angeli, who, by the way, when he came into Clemson in game 4, he was healthy. And he came in as the number 2 leader in passing yards in all of the NCAA. That guy played most of the game, and he was one of the main reasons he was picking apart Clemson's defense. There was nothing they could do. He tore his Achilles, I believe, in that game. And that's when you saw Syracuse just go to pot. I think they had a lot of injuries that actually happened after that. So when you see that Notre Dame ran the score up on them, that was a different Syracuse team versus what played in Clemson, South Carolina. With that said, that should have never happened. Our offense couldn't move the ball against Syracuse. Syracuse was not a juggernaut of a football team. Our offense couldn't move the ball. And so you step back and you look at, you can't move the football. You go conservative when you're playing a big-time football team. But everyone in the Clemson camp still wants to be taken seriously that we are this elite We're not. And the performance proved it. Now, I wish the best to Garrett Riley. I wish the best to Mickey Conn. And again, we may owe at least one of these guys an apology in years to come. Because if you change coordinators, but your offense looks mostly the same, well, the way you troubleshoot a problem is you look at what has changed and what stayed constant. That's how you troubleshoot a problem. So if you've changed the players and you've changed your coordinator, but the offense looks a lot the same, you're either hiring the same type of coordinator or you're influencing the play call. I'm just saying something that has been whispered about and even wrote about in the Clemson community. I hope that's not the case. Now, let's talk about replacements. Names are floating around, and I'm going to say this. I know that everyone in my comment section has reminded me of Coach Sweeney's approach to hiring and firing after the bowl game is over. And listen, he stuck to script. The bowl game was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, we had the bowl game. 2 days later, offensive coordinator and safeties and kind of co-passing defensive coordinator, whatever that is, they're fired. Here's the problem, Clemson Nation. And it's just reality. This is the most uncommon year in college football I've ever, drinking too many of these sparkling waters is making me want to burp. I'm sorry there. With that said, in all my years of watching college football, and I've been a rabid college football fan, not just a Clemson fan, a college football fan for many, many years, more than now I want to admit, that because it shows my age. I have never, ever, 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 ever seen coaches fired at the rate they were fired, as early as they were fired, consistently fired week after week. Humongous jobs, mid-tier jobs, small jobs. My major concern is that there's going to be slim pickings of who we can bring into Clemson, South Carolina. If you truly believe that Clemson is an elite job or could return to being elite. Not just anybody can coach it at Clemson. They can't. That goes against the philosophy that it's a special place. You don't treat something uncommon or special as common. And if you do, it's not going to fare well. So I know that right now, that there's names that are floating around. I already read a couple of names. One of them I really loved, and I was sitting there going, Joe Brady will not leave the NFL. Joe Brady will not leave the NFL. For some of you, you're like, who's Joe Brady? He's the guy that was at LSU for 1 year and made Joe Burrow look like the greatest athlete to ever touch a football field. He was there for 1 year, and it was that year in the national championship. Oh, we should remember, he outcoached us, and he was like 30 years old. Maybe 29. So he's been in the NFL. He's with the Buffalo Bills. I love the thought of that. It's most likely not going to happen. And then the other names that I saw, I was not overly impressed with. So with all of that said, this rant is to sum up my major concern that we waited too late. We waited too late to get a really, really good offensive coordinator in here. And I'm going to tell you this, unless there's some type of miraculous pick that that Coach Swinney is going to make. We do not. If you hear that there is an internal hire at Clemson, South Carolina, for the offensive coordinator, if you hear a scream coming out of the upstate of South Carolina, it's me. Just go ahead and ruin the surprise for you. It's me. Because I don't know about you, but I think the internal hires, the hiring guys who has never coached at this level before, if it has not been made quite evident to the Clemson fan base and to college football as a whole that Josh Pate said what he said about Clemson and Coach Swinney last night, that was the video I was going to do tonight. And I didn't do that because, well, this news came out and this news overshadows it. But Josh Pate, one of the most even-keeled, laid-back guys in all of YouTube and even in, college football commentary. He's chill. He said this. He said, you're not paid, talking about Coach Swinney, you're not paid $11 million to graduate players. The country is noticing what's going on in Clemson, South Carolina, because Clemson, South Carolina was up here. The Tigers were up here. People would make fun of them until they had to play them, and Clemson would play them anywhere. Clemson would play them would play a team in their backyard with their wife and children refereeing for them, and Clemson would still beat them, and there was nothing they could do about it. That's not Clemson anymore. And it hasn't been Clemson for half a decade now. So Clemson needs more experience, not just experience, but experts in their field. If they're a really good wide receiver coach, we need that guy. If they're the best free safety coach in the country, yank that guy in here. I want him at Clemson. Clemson does deserve the best, right? Right? Or is that just something that you say when you're arguing with an opposing fan base? Which is it? So I'm highly concerned that Clemson has waited too late. I know that someone would could probably say this. Maybe you're right. Oh, Coach Swinney's already got his guy. It's one of the best kept secrets I've ever heard in my entire life. Never heard it, excuse me. Because we knew weeks ago that Conn and Riley was gone. Because the Clemson Insider, which when I say this, I'm not saying this negatively. I am not associated with either one of them. Meaning, I don't even know anyone over there. So that's neither bad nor good. I'm just saying they may not like what I do. I don't know. But they broke the news right after the Carolina-Clemson game that both these guys were gone. And we had to wait a month. And now they're gone. That news didn't stay inside of Clemson, South Carolina. It leaked. That's my point. So if there is this grandioso hire that's waiting on us, that this announcement that's going to be made from Table Rock up in Northern Pickens, is that Pickens? That is Pickens County, isn't it? My dad is probably watching and shaking his head going, you've lost it. Yes, it's Pickens County. Pretty sure. With that said, they're going to make that announcement from the mountaintops. It hasn't leaked yet. Garrett Riley would be a good guess, but Mickey Conn, man, I nailed that. I guess they did have a source. So who are they hiring? If this decision has already been made, I'm just concerned that we've waited. We've treated an uncommon year in a common way. And that can cost you big, big time. Some of the last comments before I go any further here, I have 487 people in here on a Monday night. And I want to tell you straight up, thank you. Thank you for being here. I don't care if you're listening to me while you're working right now, if you have me on at the house. I've had people send me pictures of them watching me at their house, that like I'm on their big screen. And for some reason, I find that funny. and kind of creepy at the same time. And I mean that in a good way. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching the channel. I make a plea to you. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I crossed 9,000. If you have not subscribed, just look below the phone. If it says subscribe, that means you haven't subscribed yet. Hit subscribe. It is free. It's not costing you anything. That does help my channel. I'm an independent guy. There's no network behind me. Okay. You're looking at the network and the janitor all right here. So if you like that sort of thing, I hope you will. Subscribe. Next up, check out section 103. The link is below this video. They launched their Clemson collection back on December the 3rd. They reached out to me before then and was like, hey, are you interested in, possibly telling your community about our launch? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm wearing their polo. This is awesome, y'all. Feels good. I've said this on a couple of different occasions. No exaggeration. It's like it's tailored for me, but it was not tailored for me. It fits very well in the shoulders. It feels nice and comfy. The design is great. Look, I'm looking at myself on the mirror, but it's right here. That the design is awesome. The hat is from there. Use the promo code Tigers10. Tigers10. It's a one-time use code. It's below this video for 10% off your total order. Go check out section103.com, the link below. And the best way to let them know that you heard about them from me is to use that promo code. They'll know exactly where it came from. So I do appreciate y'all for supporting the show, Section 103. All right, let's go back into this. We've talked about a couple of things. There's a bunch of people in here, but I know that maybe you've joined a little late. Here's a recap. Dabo Swinney fires offensive coordinator Garrett Riley. Yes, Lincoln Riley at Southern Cal fired his brother. He was the offensive coordinator at Clemson for 3 years. These are 3 of the roughest years I've seen in Clemson football since pre-Dabo. Now, I know everyone wants to talk about, the 2010 season when Clemson had a losing record. But after that, Dabo truly righted the ship, went on that incredible run, won 2 national championships, and that was incredible. Over the past 5, I will even go as far as saying 6 years, we saw a decline. But over the past 4 years, counting the Streeter year and then the 3 years of Garrett Riley, we've really seen the team fall apart. And this is something I haven't said so far, where things really fell off the cliff with Clemson is when our defense started to fall apart, especially last year and the year before that. And so the defense kept us in games while the offense could fart around and try to figure out if they wanted to play that day, and the defense will save us. And the defense did. If we saw this lack of defensive dominance that we're seeing right now, we've seen over the past few years, if we would have seen that, I don't know, in 2022, you wouldn't have won 10 games. 2021, you wouldn't have won 10 games. So you could go ahead and nix that. The defense kept you in games that the offense was not keeping you in. But where we've really seen the decline over the past few years is it finally caught up with the defense. My point there is that the offensive struggles was saved and covered. The sins were covered by the defense until now. The defense is, and I'm not worried about Tom Allen at this point, folks. I'll go ahead and tell you that. Just side note. I'm not worried about Tom Allen. Tom Allen inherited a mess. Tom Allen inherited a coaching staff that I still believe that we probably should take a look at a couple of people on the defense and potentially have to make some unfortunate moves there. On the offense, I think there was a stat that was shown during the bowl game after, Clemson dropped like 3 wide open passes, balls that was thrown right into their chest. Say what you will about CADE. Ball was thrown right here and it went hot potato. That Clemson I mean, their drops, their I can't remember the exact ranking for their drops, but it was terrible. It was awful. That's been going on for a while now. We've been seeing wide receivers for the past 5 years especially decline. No one wants to talk about this. No one wants to be. My thing is not to call for someone to be fired. My call is for someone to ask, hey, do you realize this can't keep happening? And so, with that said, I still think that there's probably 3 coaches that probably don't need to be at Clemson anymore, and it would be sad. But Tom Allen inherited a mess, and you have to have people developing players up under you so those players are actually equipped to execute the plan that you're trying to put into place. But in summation, Garrett Riley's gone. Mickey Conn is gone. Let's talk about the lack of quarterback development. And this was actually before Garrett Riley. Garrett Riley was also the quarterback's coach. CADE never developed. DJ never developed. And that was before Garrett. Vizina has seemed to struggle in the development area. Clemson has a development issue across the board. Now, if you have guys like Sammy Brown and Bryant Wesco who comes in and they're just brilliant right out of the box, great, wonderful. Well, here's the problem for that. If you're recruiting guys who really doesn't need to be developed, or you're not developing them, or they have to be ready right out of the box, then your job, there's no need for your job. There's no need for your role. I said this about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence came into Clemson. He was no better after his freshman year. He was no better after his freshman year. Never developed. And people would ask this question, and rightfully so. Well, who was going to develop him? The NFL. So what do? Like I said just a moment ago, you can't treat something uncommon common. That's a mistake. If you buy a luxury sports car, you don't treat it like a regular car. It costs a lot of money to upkeep that vehicle because it's not a common car. And so you should have went to the NFL and found a true guru and brought him on his staff, brought him on the staff and said, here you go. It's good to see, by the way, Trevor Lawrence hitting his stride in the NFL right now. With that said, Clemson didn't do him any favors. Clemson didn't do DJ any favors. Clemson didn't do Cade Klubnik any favors. And people are making fun of Klubnik crying and everything. Hey, listen, if you aren't a player who really loved Clemson and seemed to want to do things the right way, it's the guy you're making fun of for crying. Well, he didn't hit the wide open passes. Y'all, you're going to take a shot at him and you don't want to hold the coaching staff as a whole accountable? That dog won't hunt, even if you put a gun to its head. It doesn't make sense. Vizina was not a bad recruit coming out of high school, and he looks like he's still struggling. How many quarterbacks do you need to go through like a pair of dirty underwear before you realize it's not them? Again, that whole thing I was talking about just a second ago, where when you troubleshoot something, you compare constant with things that have changed. What stayed the same? What has changed? Because if you changed all of this over here and this has stayed the same, the problem's over here. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. Some of you get that. Some of you, you're too defensive about Clemson to Clemson's detriment. kind of like a mom who takes up for her son who, though she loves her son, he's a criminal. He has all the attributes of Satan, still kills and destroys, but he's mama's boy and mama loves everything. Hey, maybe you need to let him be locked up. Maybe you need to let him sit in a courtroom and have a judge slam a gavel and say, you're done, son. Maybe that would be good for him. Maybe you taking up for him all the time is not helping. In fact, it's to his detriment. And that's what I see in the Clemson community when it comes to his football team. And by the way, football is nothing. I love to get on here and rant and rave and blah, 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 and you probably do too. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a team. It's a sport. It's no big deal. We can have some fun with it. We can get worked up about it. But at the end of the day, it's no big deal. And that means we should definitely be able to tell the truth about it. There's no nuance. I'm going to get into the comment section here really, really quick. There's so many comments in here, and I love it. I love it. I'm glad that y'all are interacting in here. I appreciate y'all being here. Oh, my goodness. NKZYT. I don't know why Dabo was so loyal to him. Mike Madden talking trash. He's a Georgia fan. Dwayne McDonald said David Hood knows the next OC. We should ask David, blink once if it's a good hire. Bust out into tears if it's a bad hire. Let me see. There's a bunch of people in here. Andrew Roof says Dabo isn't calling the plays. Told us to think so. Good to see Andrew Roof. He can influence the plays. He can influence the plays. I hope that's not the case. Hope it's not the case. And here's the thing too. One last thought, and then I'm gonna get back to comment section. I know that the head coach is the head coach, and they can influence plays and so on, but that makes them the HC. With that said, there are some head coaches who trust their hires and lets them do their job. And I'm hoping that that's the case here. Rob Henderson need to get rid of Spiller. Flux Flow says maybe they need to call Bobby Durkins. Bobby Durkin shows up. Bobby Durkin shows up to the practice field, and they're like, why's he got a jug of gasoline and he's in a wife beater? And they're like, because I'm going to burn it down. Anyway, sorry, I couldn't let. Oh, my goodness. There's so many in here right now. It's hard for me on my software to be able to go there. I think Spiller, wide receiver coach, should be gone. Nicholas Powell, good to see you. If CADE was a problem, not going to fix it with Vizina. Good to see you, Roger Parks. Thanks for supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Goodness. Got Tiger in the Burrow. Will the new OC bring with him a QB? I don't know. Good question. Yeah, the coach's body language says a lot. Mad Pitbull, I agree with that. Bettencourt is going to be a good one. Yeah, they got to get the ball to him. They have to get the ball to him. And that's what drives me crazy. If this guy was playing for Notre Dame, he would be everywhere. You couldn't watch a college football pregame show without hearing about Bettencourt, and we'd be like, man, I wish we'd have him. Why? So we don't throw to him? Paul Wood in here. Good to see you. Got Silver Fox in here. Smokey the Bear speaking facts. There's so many in here. Daryl Martin, we forgot about the D-line. With the talent we had, we should have been wreaking havoc. Also, Dabo has to let the coaches coach. Doesn't matter who we get. Go get a good D2 playoff teams, OC. Not how. Hey, who knows? Maybe that's the case. Bring Chad Morris back, Joseph Gregory said. Kaysen and Chloe says someone's spamming in emojis. William Watson says, hope it's not Kyle Richardson. I won't watch next year. I'm telling you, folks, if we get an internal hire, and I'm not trying to trash anyone. I say that all the time, but now's not the time for an internal hire. Now is not the time for any of that. That's what got us here. So people make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. If you don't know that you make mistakes, that's your first mistake. With that said, when you make a mistake, I teach my boys this. I have a 19-year-old. I have a 10-year-old. I teach them this. When you make a mistake, acknowledge it and learn from it. And then go, you know what? I'm going to try not to make that mistake again. Clemson got to where they're at right now. I'm not talking about the 6 consecutive playoffs. That was a different coaching staff. That's the point. That was a different coaching staff. When that coaching staff started to retire or take jobs elsewhere, and congratulations to Tony Elliott and his 11 wins at Virginia, the most in their program history. He did it the other night. Congratulations to Tony Elliott, former Clemson player and offensive coordinator. But when they left, we started seeing players who has never, ever coached. And then guys who's never coached at this level getting jobs at wholesale at Clemson. That's the reason why in 2021 and 2022, you had 3 losses each year. Or 2021 and 2022, 2023 and 2024. I'm getting my years mixed up. But either way, you had 2 3-loss seasons, 2 4-loss seasons, and now you have a 6-loss season, right? That's how that happened. You learn from that mistake. You have to go out and hire. And right now is the time to, if there's anyone else that needs to be, any changes that needs to be made, you need to change them now. Don't wait till next year. We're just wasting eligibility of players. They need to be changed now. Oh, goodness. Joe Brady is not going to leave the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. No, the screen will be all of us. Sherry Green says that. How about Brian Dabo? That would be a really good hire. That actually would be a really good hire. I just don't know if Brian Dabo would do that. Grafnar in here. Good to see you. Oh, let me see. The Grumpy Clemson fan. Too few fired. It's too late. This bodes poorly for 26. Neff needs to be fired. And UAD needs to right the ship. Hard take. Close to Transylvania County. Yes. Table Rock is in Oconee County. How did I miss? I'm from Oconee County. And for some reason, I just thought, let's look this up. I'm sorry, folks, if you're like, I didn't come on here for this. Yeah, I didn't even show up for this either. Table Rock. Table Rock. In what county? I'm asking the Googles as we speak. I'm pretty sure it is Pickens County. It is located in Pickens County near the town of Pickens. Yes. See, it's northern Pickens County, and I was thinking that because it's so close to northern Greenville County that it gets weird over in there. But anyway, good to see you in here. There was a point that I was going to make, and I remember it now. Case and Chloe Vid says Dan Larson, NDSU. Who knows? Maybe. Count Dookie says, I'm taking a massive dump. I'm going to tell you right now, that's hilarious. Dropping that deuce. Angles YT says, do you think we would have fired him if we won the bowl game? Yes. Tristan's in here. Thanks for the $5 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Supporting the channel. I'm an independent. It means a lot to me, man. Our defense went from being top 5 every year to a steaming pile in a cow field. It looked like our guys got soft. They don't have the same edge. Yeah. And again, that allowed the offense to fart around for a while. It did. If Clemson's defense if they were elite this year, you would have stopped Duke. That's one more win. You would have got another stop against Georgia Tech. That's another win. You would have stopped. You would have probably had a few good stops against SMU. There's another win. That's 3 wins right there that you could have retallied. So that's what Clemson. That's what was happening in Clemson was the defense started to fall apart, and now we're here. A good defense will save you. JT Brown. Let's go get Jonathan Brewer, Matt Leftwich, or heck, Joe Brady. I'd love to get Joe Brady. I don't believe it. That man's leaving the NFL. His trajectory is like in coaching career. Going, and I don't mean that's bad, Clemson. I'm just saying, especially where Clemson's at now and where Joe Brady is already at, it would actually be a major step back for him. But JT Brown, thanks for supporting on a monthly basis. And then on top of that, thanks for the super chat. Again, I really do appreciate it. And hey, anyone else, if you want to join the channel, the button is below this video to join. It's very cheap to do so. Go check that out. But JT Brown's been doing that for a while, and he gives a super chat. So thanks, Steve, for supporting the channel. Someone said Sammy Brown is balling. Yeah, Rusty Brates. Sammy Brown's one of those guys. You can bring him right in. Just tell him you go do what you go do. I believe we'd have beat South Carolina last year had we left him on the field. We didn't, so we lost. I believe he would have shut down. He was the only one that could tackle anyone. And I stand by that. Let me see. Carolina Skies. This is worrisome that Dabo waited this long. Chaos is knocking on Dabo's door with portal players. You're right about the uncommon common statement. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like thinking that a rainstorm is coming and it's a hurricane. Different preparation. Justin B. Langford asked the question, where does Keith Adams land? I don't know, but I hope he lands somewhere that will use him. That video last night, a lot of people resonated with it. A lot of people got irritated too. Some of the things that were said to him, I wouldn't pull for Clemson again if that were me. And those things by Clemson fans are being said to me. Now, some of them are trolls. Some of them are burner accounts. Again, that happens. But it was pretty low, some of the crap they were saying to Keith Adams Jr. William Watson, do you think the offensive coordinator should be on sidelines or up in the box? I say operate in the way that works well for you, but the very moment that you're not being productive, try the other way. What's it going to hurt? Rusty Break said the Duke game was hilarious. Let's see who else is in here. Carolina Jackpot is I'm not going to say that about Carolina Jackpot. I would love Todd Monken. Yeah, you, me, and about every other team that's ever coached football. That guy's brilliant. That guy's brilliant. Yeah, that would be flipping awesome. All right, folks. There's a bunch of you in here. And here's the closing thought. Ton of you in here again. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. I'm trying to get to to 10,000 subscribers. I'm over 9,000 now. Thanks to some of you who subscribed last night. Thank you so much. It is free. Pass it along. I do appreciate it. So here we go. Last thought. Now, when do we get the announcement of who is the new offensive coordinator? When do we get that announcement? Will Coach Swinney fire anyone else? I doubt it. I think today was the day. But will we have to wait until after the college football playoff to figure out who's going to coach at Clemson? Is this person, are they in the college football playoff right now? Are they in the NFL? That's a really good question. Could it be, like someone said in the comment section, you could be spot on. Maybe they're in the FCS right now and their playoff. They have the national championship coming up. I think it's Montana State and Illinois State. I've been watching some of the FCS playoff. It's been quite interesting. Maybe so. When will we know? I'm hoping that we're setting a microwave timer, and we're not going to have to pull out the sundial and wait for a month. That's my hope. So we will find out. I mean, it. We will find out. Folks, y'all take care of yourself. Thanks for being here tonight. Check out section 103. The link is below. And use that one-time use promo code for 10% off. It's Tigers10. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It is free. I do appreciate it. If you want to join the channel and support on a monthly basis, it's really affordable. Click the join button below. Folks, you take care of yourself. And as always, go Tigers.